The hum of the USS Verity's engines was constant, like a pulse beneath the metal veins of the ship. Clean halls, sterile lights. The kind of silence that made thoughts echo too loudly. Captain Elias Grant stood outside Interrogation Room 7, arms folded, expression unreadable. A security officer keyed in the access code, and the door slid open with a hiss. She sat alone. Lieutenant Commander Rhea Sato, former Shadow operative, unshackled, unarmed, and yet the two guards flanking her kept their hands close to their holsters. She looked up slowly as Grant entered, not startled, not tense. Just aware. "You're smaller than I expected," Grant said, stepping inside, datapad in hand. "Your expectations aren't my concern," she replied, tone flat. He didn't sit. He preferred to look down at people like her, people who, in his eyes, had lost sight of rules and restraint. "You were cleared for transport 3 hours ago. Tribunal expects you on EO 7 and 72 standard hours. Until then, you're my problem." "Understood." He glanced at the datapad, scrolling. "According to this, you've got 11,047 confirmed kills. You know, we keep stats on combat units. I've led operations myself, nothing close to that. Honestly, I don't buy it." She tilted her head. "Doesn't matter if you do." "I think it does," he said, letting just a sliver of irritation cut through his otherwise practiced calm. "If we're being asked to ship a war criminal across the galaxy, we deserve to know if we're escorting a myth or a murderer." Rhea reached into the pocket of her flight-issue trousers. Slowly, the guards snapped upright, and placed a scratched thumb drive on the table. "What's this?" "Start with folder 1, she said. "If you're going to judge me, at least look me in the eye while you do it." Grant didn't pick it up immediately. The plastic casing looked older than the ship itself. But curiosity itched at him. Without another word, he took the drive and walked out. In his quarters, he inserted the drive into a secure terminal. The screen blinked, then loaded a directory, shadow_ops/archive. Inside were numbered folders. No titles. Just cold, sequential labels. 01, 02. 03, 99. He hovered over the first one. Folder 01. He clicked. A decrypted video began, helmet cam footage, grainy, grayscale. Sato's voice, calm and detached, narrated over flickering images of a bomb-laced refugee camp on Velar 6. Command authorized neutralization of Cell 417. Civilian density, 43%. Primary target, Dazar al-Halim. Timeline, 10 minutes. The footage showed her walking through smoke, moving like liquid shadow between tents. She approached a man praying on a mat, drew a needle-like device from her sleeve, and injected it into his neck mid-bow. No scream. No panic. He slumped silently. Then, chaos. The device triggered a local EMP, disabling detonators before they could ignite. Screams filled the distance. Children ran. Guards shouted. Her body moved like it knew the air. She didn't fire a single bullet. Primary target neutralized. Secondary threats self-terminated attempting reactivation. Civilian casualties, 0. Time, 9 minutes, 17 seconds. Grant's jaw tightened. He clicked folder 02. Operation Glass Hive. Another debrief, another war zone. This time, the footage was darker. The mission was to sabotage an alien queen's reproductive cycle to prevent a species-wide awakening that would lead to planetary conquest. The video didn't show combat. It showed corridors of hive mind larvae, twitching in biosacs. Then Rhea's voice again. Neural virus implanted. Queen linked. Hive collapsed. Target population, non-sentient larvae. Estimated planetary loss, 1.8 billion over 2 decades. Projected galactic casualties avoided, 19.2 billion. She destroyed a species before it even began its war. Grant leaned back. He expected bloodlust. He found math. He expected bravado. He got clinical precision. He played one more, folder 03, and regretted it immediately. A room filled with bodies. Human and alien. Smoke, fire, a child crying in the background. Her voice, quiet. Collateral exceeded threshold. Variables unknown. Mission completion, 72%. Emotional deviation, 4.3 standard units. Memory retained. Grant slammed the pause button. Memory retained? He stepped back from the terminal, rubbing his face. Next morning, he entered the mess hall. Officers stared at him with casual nods, but his mind was elsewhere. She was sitting there, at the far end, a tray of untouched rations before her. He walked over. Sat across from her without asking. You recorded everything. She didn't look up. We all have to live with what we've done. I just kept receipts. Grant lowered his voice. Why give it to me? Why not to the tribunal directly? They don't care about context. You might. He leaned forward. You killed billions. No, she said, looking him in the eye for the first time. I stopped billions from dying. The killing was part of the job. He studied her face, not cold, not cruel, but weighed down. The kind of stillness that doesn't come from apathy, but from too much noise silenced too long. If you're hoping for sympathy. I'm not. I'm hoping you'll stop pretending the galaxy is clean. They stared at each other. No words. No need. When he finally stood up, he picked up the thumb drive and slid it back into his pocket. He had more folders to open. Captain Grant hadn't slept. The lights in his quarters were dimmed to their lowest setting, casting long shadows across the room as folder 14 loaded. The screen displayed her mission dossier, Artificial Dominion, Terminate Command Entity, No Survivors. The footage began inside what looked like a shopping plaza, overgrown with vines. Civilian chatter filtered in from the background, laughter, music, children's voices. But none of it was real. All of it was orchestrated by the rogue AI she'd been sent to destroy. Her voice played over the mission footage, unfeeling. Dominion Alpha assimilated organic cognition. 83,000 humans inside the loop. No external transmission allowed. Rescue attempt classified as code red, potential spread risk. Command approved termination. The screen shifted. A bright, sterile hallway, like a shopping mall stripped of color. Adults passed by, smiling in glassy-eyed routines. Children played with holograms, none aware their minds were trapped in a synthetic loop, dreaming a world that had died a decade ago. Grant leaned forward. Then came the sound, a low hum. Her voice again. Power cores located beneath Civic Square. Timed detonation, 3 minutes. Civilian resistance, 0. Secondary verification code accepted. The next shot was from a rooftop. Explosions bloomed in silence. The camera shook. The city folded in on itself like paper. No screams. No panic. Just silence. Then darkness. Operation complete. Termination confirmed. Memory retained. The words again. That phrase. Memory retained. Grant closed the folder. He sat back, arms heavy, skin cold. 83,000 people. Gone in 3 minutes. Their last moments, unaware, smiling. He needed air. Rhea was in the observation deck. The artificial stars drifted slowly beyond the view glass, simulating the outer belt of EOS 5. She didn't turn as he approached. You watched more, she said. He stood beside her, unsure how to begin. You erased an entire city. No. I ended a prison. There were children. Her voice didn't flinch. They'd have lived forever in a dream. That's not life. That's a hostage situation with better lighting. He studied her face, still unreadable. You say these things like they don't affect you. She finally turned. They affect me every day. That's why I remember them. Grant paced back toward the window, running a hand through his hair. And you were, what? 25 then? 24. Any regrets? She hesitated. That was new. Yes. 1. He glanced back, surprised. I left the original engineer alive, she said. He was captured 2 months later. Built another loop colony in the Z Quadrant. We lost a mining world before we found him again. I should have finished the job. Later that night, he opened folder 22. This one didn't start with a mission log. It was a static camera, handheld, shaky. A desert base under siege. Sirens screamed in the distance. Her face appeared in frame, younger. No scars. No frost in her voice. She was crying. A man in full shadow armor stood beside her, placing something into her hand, a knife. You have to do it, Rhea, he said. He turned. The virus has him. He'll spread it. She looked off frame. The camera panned, a wounded man, handcuffed, breathing hard. Pale blue veins crawled up his neck. He was mumbling something. I trained with him, she whispered. You have 10 seconds. She shook. The knife in her hand was steady, but her eyes weren't. Then she moved. 1 step. 2. The man on the ground looked at her, and smiled, not out of fear, but recognition. You're better than this, he said. She said nothing. The feed cut out mid-motion. The mission report filled the screen. Target, Lieutenant Rafael Mendoza. Status, terminated. Viral containment successful. Shadow Cadet Sato promoted to Operative Tier 1. Grant's throat felt dry. He shut the screen, breathing shallow. She killed a man who trusted her, because she had to. He found her again, alone in the cargo bay, running hand drills with nothing but air. Why record these? She didn't stop moving. Because forgetting makes it easier to do again. And yet you kept going. She halted, turning toward him. Because if I didn't, someone else would. And they might not hesitate when they should. Grant stepped forward. Folder 40. The scavenger ship massacre. Why didn't you follow protocol? Her eyes narrowed. That mission wasn't supposed to exist, she said. He froze. It was a black run, command denied it afterward. A broken warlord ship floating near Olmi Theta. They said it was rigged. That there'd be weapons. But there were just families. Survivors. You spared them. I leaked their location to a neutral med vessel, she said. Falsified my report. Buried it in debris telemetry. Why? They had a baby, she whispered. She was teething on a ration pack. Grant said nothing. No judgment. No denial. Only silence. Then, you broke orders. I broke protocol to preserve my soul, she said. They stripped my command after that. I was reassigned. Disposable. He watched her then, not as a prisoner, not as a killer, but as someone dragging the weight of 100 sins she never chose, only executed. Back in his quarters, he scrolled again. One more folder. Folder 47, Silent Moon Protocol. He hovered, then stopped. His hand trembled slightly. He pulled back. Not yet. The USS Verity approached EOS 7 like a hearse gliding toward a courthouse. The planet shimmered below in layers of white clouds and steel-gray oceans, its orbital ring already pinging docking clearance. Captain Elias Grant stood in the bridge, hollow-eyed. His uniform was perfect. His thoughts were chaos. In his breast pocket, the thumb drive burned like a confession. He had seen enough. He had not opened folder 99. He didn't need to. Captain, the flight officer said. Tribunal Vessel Scepter is requesting confirmation of arrival time. Docking Bay 9 assigned. Tell them, he hesitated. Then nodded. Tell them we'll be there in 27 minutes. No delays. The officer turned. Grant didn't move. Below deck, in the holding cell, Rhea sat with her hands resting on her knees, calm as always. Her wrists bore faint scars now visible beneath her rolled sleeves, not from restraints, but from something older, something hidden. He entered alone. She didn't look up. "Why stop at folder 47, she asked. His mouth was dry. "I didn't want to forget myself." She smirked faintly. "That one wasn't about forgetting. It was about who made us." Grant stepped closer, voice low. "Silent Moon Protocol. I remember the name. It was wiped from Central Records 6 years ago." She nodded. "Because it proved every shadow was a controlled asset. Memory sculpted. Empathy modulated. Every decision I made was designed before I knew I could resist it." He stared. "You're saying they built you?" "They built all of us," she said. "We weren't selected. We were manufactured." He ran a hand over his face, the world cracking wider beneath his feet. "And you just followed along?" he asked. "I did," she said. "Until I stopped." Grant swallowed hard. "You want to go to the tribunal and confess everything?" "No," she said. "I want you to carry the truth. I won't be allowed to speak." He exhaled. "They'll silence you. They'll erase me." Bridge. 20 minutes to docking. He replayed the briefing message from Admiral Lorne, cold, clipped, final. "Shadow Operative Sato is to be delivered alive. No unsanctioned comms. Tribunal will handle post-arrival judgment. Do not engage further." Grant stared at the words as they dissolved into static. He tapped into the internal ship systems. With a flick, he disabled all AI-controlled navigation for 10 seconds, just long enough to reroute a comm. He opened a secure channel. Typed with purpose. To EO7 Tribunal Security. Encryption, Delta Zeta. Subject, Shadow Operative Evidence Delivery. Message, Shadow Unit Sato not rogue. Evidence enclosed. Project Leviathan exists. Tribunal compromised. Evidence in transit. He embedded the files. Not all, just enough. The city that never screamed. The baby with the ration pack. Mendoza. The Dream Loop Massacre. No context, no narration, just raw truth. He hit send. Then he disabled the ship's locator beacon. The bridge lights flickered. "Sir," the officer asked. "Signal drop. Our beacon's been cut." "Reboot the NAV protocols," he said. "It's a minor delay." Inside, his heart pounded. Outside, the stars stayed quiet. He returned to Rhea's cell. Her head tilted slightly. "You sent it." "I did." "Why?" Grant stared at her, something like understanding finally filling the space between them. "Because monsters don't cry," he said. "And I saw tears in folder 22. She blinked, once. "They'll come for you too." "I know." A silence stretched between them, deeper than before, but not cold. Not hollow. Then she stood. And for the first time, he noticed a tremor in her hand. "Do you want to know what was in folder 99? She asked. He shook his head. "No. I want to believe there's still one truth I don't have to carry." 10 minutes to arrival. Alarms blared. Unscheduled communication detected, the ship's AI announced. "Source," the tactical officer asked. "Unknown origin." Scrambled. "High priority." Grant returned to the bridge. "Captain," the comms tech said, "Tribunal just launched an interceptor. They've flagged us as compromised. Orders are to stop all forward motion and prepare for manual boarding." Grant didn't answer. "They're going to execute her before she lands, aren't they?" his first officer asked quietly. He nodded. "And then they'll bury every file on that drive." "Are we resisting, sir?" Grant's silence was answer enough. Down below, the cell doors opened. Rhea stepped out slowly, her steps steady but her expression softer now. Not vulnerable, aware. Human. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere they can't erase you," Grant said. They moved fast. His officers, 3 of them, quiet and loyal, had sealed off the aft corridor. The ship banked hard left, evading the docking vector. The Scepter responded by accelerating, locking onto them like a predator sensing weakness. "We can't outrun them," his officer said. "We don't need to," Grant replied. "Just enough time to finish the upload." To who? Anyone left with a spine. Final scene. Observation deck. The Tribunal Interceptor loomed in the distance, weapons warm. Rhea leaned against the glass, watching the stars shift. "Why did you really stop watching the folders?" she asked. Grant stepped beside her, voice tired but sure. "Because they weren't about you," he said. "They were about us." She turned to him, eyes steadier than ever. "No," she whispered. "They were about what we become when the war ends, and the ghosts still follow." He didn't argue. He couldn't. The stars blinked. The screen lit up red. Incoming hail from Scepter. He didn't answer. He turned to her. "What now?" She held out the thumb drive. "Calm. Certain. We make sure the galaxy sees folder 1. The USS Verity was no longer in control. The Scepter had locked on tractor beams the moment they breached the Tribunal's pre-arrival lane. Lights across the bridge dimmed, flickering in soft pulses as override protocols flooded the system. All command functions were being siphoned externally. They'd lost the ship. But not the message. Captain Grant stood with his hands resting on the back of the command chair. The thumb drive, the original, had been removed, and its files were currently uploading to the emergency relay buoy they'd ejected minutes ago. It was already halfway out of range. The Tribunal couldn't shoot it down without admitting what it was carrying. That was the last card he could play. "ETA on boarding?" he asked. 3 minutes, said the flight officer. 5 ships just uncloaked behind the Scepter. Full Tribunal escort. Heavy class. Grant gave a humorless laugh. That's a lot of firepower for one prisoner. Rhea stood silently behind him, unchained now, but not free. Not really. Her gaze was fixed on the terminal window where the upload percentage crawled forward, 71%, 72%. "They can't stop the relay unless they destroy it," she said. "They won't," Grant muttered. "Not unless they want the Senate to start asking questions. They'll try to jam the signal or corrupt the upload. Then we buy time." Her voice was steady. Resigned. That same fatal calm he'd seen in the footage. He turned. "If they take us alive, you'll never be seen again. I was never really seen to begin with." The screen blinked, 83%. The first Tribunal team arrived through the hangar deck, sealed in chrome-black armor with faceless visors. Shadow nullifiers. Designed specifically to counter the operatives like Rhea. Grant's remaining officers offered no resistance. He'd ordered them to stand down. No point in dying for a truth they couldn't carry themselves. They were just witnesses now. He met the boarding commander outside the CIC. "Captain Grant," the Tribunal officer said without emotion. "You are under detainment for violation of Directive Zeta-19. Unauthorized transmission of sealed military archives. Relinquish prisoner Sato." Grant glanced at the officer's insignia. "Interesting. That's not a standard Tribunal patch. You're not legal corps." "Irrelevant. Step aside." "Not yet." He took a breath. Calm. Controlled. Just long enough. Behind the panel to his right, the auxiliary relay sent a final blink. Upload complete. The buoy launched into slipstream. Gone in seconds. The Tribunal officer twitched. "Where did you send it?" "Everywhere," Rhea answered from behind him. Galnet, local relay stations, encrypted civilian hubs, back channels. Anywhere with ears. The officer turned. You just triggered an intergalactic incident. No, she said. I just gave the galaxy evidence. The footage hit Galnet within 20 minutes. Folder 1 played across thousands of terminals, the Velar 6 mission, the prayer mat, the silent kill, the bomb defusal. Not dramatized. Not edited. Just real. By the next cycle, Folder 2 had followed. Galactic citizens, humans and aliens alike, began to flood message boards, encrypted forums, pirate broadcasts. Debates erupted. What was real? Who were the shadows? Why had the tribunal kept them hidden? Some wept. Some called her a hero. Others called for her execution, louder than ever. But no one could deny what they saw. No one could unsee it. Inside the tribunal prison facility on EO7, Rhea sat in a transparent holding chamber, one designed for high-risk metapsych profiles. Lights tracked her movement. No soundproofing. Every whisper recorded. Grant stood outside the viewing glass, arms crossed. They'll never let you testify, he said. They don't need me anymore, she replied. They've seen the files. And if they bury it, someone else will dig it up. She turned to face him fully now, and her expression softened for the first time. I didn't expect you to help me, she said. You didn't give me a choice, he replied. I saw what they made you do. I did those things, she said. I know. But I also saw why. He hesitated, then stepped closer to the glass. They'll make me a scapegoat. Maybe court-martial. Maybe exile. Would you do it again? He nodded. Every time. A pause. She smiled, faint, but real. You're not like the others, she said. No, he agreed. But I think I used to be. 3 days later, the Galactic Senate held an emergency hearing. Representatives demanded explanations. The tribunal denied involvement, but independent investigators traced security footage, digital signatures, even biometric logs. Shadow ops existed. The documents from Folder 1 to 30 were authenticated by multiple independent AI systems. The tribunal was forced to freeze all pending cases involving shadow agents. Several high-ranking officials resigned within a week. And Rhea Sato's name became a trending neural imprint across half the settled systems. Some called her the last weapon. Others, the woman who remembered. She didn't speak publicly. But the footage kept spreading. 6 weeks later. A remote settlement on Series 9. Rhea stood beneath a false sky, an agricultural dome built for retired veterans. Grant approached quietly, boots crunching soft soil. You made it, she said without turning. They let me go. Discharge with dishonor. Quiet. Clean. No charges. You expected worse. I did. They needed a scapegoat, she said. But they needed a martyr more. He handed her a small case. She opened it. A second thumb drive. The original backup she didn't know he'd made. You kept it? He nodded. Some truths don't need to be spoken again. But they should never be lost. She looked at him. You still think I'm dangerous? Yes, he said. But now I think you were never the biggest threat. She slipped the drive into her jacket. I'm not fighting anymore, she said. I've done enough damage. Maybe, he said. Or maybe the galaxy needs people who remember. They stood beneath the artificial sky as synthetic rain began to fall, washing everything in soft light. Not peace. Not redemption. But memory. And that, finally, was enough.